It's been very long since I posted something. So I wanted to talk about the pandemic. Currently, I am on Singer Island waiting for a little snorkeling trip. It will be my first time. I know I'm in my almost in my mid 30s. But it was also my first time in Florida. I needed some sun to break out of my rust from this whole pandemic, since it's been a year and it's not getting close to the end. And unfortunately, it won't be anytime soon. Why I wanted to post a little short message. Until this pandemic hit, even I was not aware of the pandemic during the First World War, which actually killed way more than the war itself. And for someone of my generation, learning about that says that actually was overshadowed about the atrocities during the war. And the reason why it was, named Spanish flu, because Spain was the only nation in the West who was not involved in the war and had the space to cover that. And unless the crowd there would be a certain type of crowd of personality who would let's just say, if one is aware of basic life signs and actually acts on things he or she knows or understands, is considered a wimp, weak, or just girly. Well, when I was infected and I was long hauler, and I was not dying, I was not recovering. And the reason I needed to make this trip down here is because my body literally felt rusted. I have never stepped. I returned, spending 20 months in the developing world. I experienced no such thing, and here I returned to the first world, and this is what I experienced. And my 13 trips during my infected experience, I observed that the part of the medical community who are actually taking care of this illness are the minority. And it's not being documented anywhere, but I did write about it as a part of something of my own personal matter. And within a few days was the first time I see on the news that the federal government is finally addressing misreporting from long-term care facilities. I just recently lost my maternal grandmother, who was 88, at a long-term facility for 5 to 6 years. She made it this far, and I would call to check in on her and her status. And a week prior to her death, she had not been vaccinated. There was a severe mismanagement, and I, in my own personal ties, have not known of anybody who was infected by this SARS-CoV-2, and let alone be a long hauling one. And one would not understand a thing just from these messages, these video messages or news, unless one experiences something. And I would not have known any of this. It was just right after the lockdown. Actually, it was irresponsible of the mainstream journalism to not cover the matter, because initially it was just the pigmented crowd. And even when it started in Asia, I never knew about it. I was in Asia then. So the journalism crowd is, as a matter of fact, the humanities crowd, much less of rule abiding than the STEM. Forgive me, but this is how it is. Oh dear, I should actually give you a glimpse of the view I'm looking at. So this is, I'm sort of hanging out at a balcony of the resort, just waiting. So my boat will be waiting for me at the end of this thing. And probably I should have that as a background now. Let me see if I could do that. But yeah, as I was saying, that, damn, that's my water. I literally had to fight with my infectious disease specialist to do a serology test at the end of several months, because I was getting a series of positive and negative swab tests. And oh dear, it is beautiful. It will hurt real bad to leave this place. I had been to West Coast once during the summer. I had never been back there, but West Coast would be the summer place, and Florida for winter. DC, why did the English have to dock there? Well, it was, I guess, the closest point across the ocean. But I think what I began saying is that, the personal matter that I had to deal with actually had access to tons of personalities who would have the strings to pull in the journalism industry, and it was just the timing. Apart from the messages that we were getting from the recent past national leader, President Trump, for the man, I think the person has his personality. I think his support system acted in support of it, obviously, and the fraction of the medical community who were the type of people who would act in support of what was coming out of President Trump. I had been to the ED 13 times, and I was, accommodated in the special section where people with symptoms were being seen. And the reason why I had to go there so many times is because, as a side effect, I developed pancreatitis. And this is a special kind, because this is something that does not work with any kind of medication. Each of my episodes last from 7 to 11 hours, and I scream like an animal. And nobody want to see that face when I have that. And over the months, I had to watch what was, causing it. And ever since I stopped eating food, because my immune system is not fighting back the minimum amount of germ that healthy immune body would fight against, and it's actually right here. So it's the pain is horrible. Doctors can't do a thing. I mean, in the later times, I think starting from like 9th to 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th time, I just started telling the emergency doctors that, you know, don't bother with the painkillers, it's not going to help. So the pain that resulted from this infection, which developed, I think, the 4th or 5th month into it, and I had to stop eating any food that sits outside of the fridge for more than an hour and a half, not even 2 hours. Like the other day, I left the butter overnight outside. I tossed it away. I've been wasting a lot of groceries because no way I want to have that pain. And ever since then, I had that probably once in 2 months. So yeah, so I could still feel it mildly each time something goes into my system, like something wrong. But yeah, so the gist of my post today, the mainstream journalists did not cover the initial phase of